Okay, it's a little past 2:30, our starting time, so I think we'll get this meeting started. I'd like to call this meeting of the Governmental Affairs Special Subcommittee on Cityhood to order, and we'll ask Chairman Rick Williams, if he would lead us in prayer to start the meeting off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for a wonderful day. We thank you for the opportunity to be here to represent the people in the great state of Georgia. Please give us the courage, the wisdom, and the patience to take care of the people's business. Please bless our men and women who are in harm's way, and our law enforcement officers. Please be with each and every one of them and watch over them and their families. In thy name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Representative Williams. This is the special subcommittee under the Governmental Affairs Committee. So our purpose here is to hear testimony and to verify the procedural and statutory guidelines regarding cityhood issues. So this meeting today was originally set up to hear the city of Vinings, and we have agreed to add in the proposed city of Lost Mountain. On the agenda, they're actually Lost Mountain first and Vinings second, but I've given Chairman Carson prerogative here as we were set up originally to start out with the city of Vinings. With that, Chairman Carson, I'll let you proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I know I stand between you and the weekend, so at least I'm going to make it quick. I can't speak for Lost Mountain, so I'll leave that to the new and improved Representative Earhart. About a year ago, you can tell Earl I said that. About a year ago, I was approached by folks with the Vinings Exploratory Committee, and what they wanted to do is they really wanted to control their own destiny. They wanted to have more of a say in regard to zoning. They wanted to have more of a say, and particularly in regard to having more parks in green space. And many people, and I think some have already mentioned this after we introduced the bill, House Bill 840 last year. Many people thought, I thought Vinings was already a city. It is not. It is a community, but it is a tight-knit community. As you can see on the map behind my friend Mary Frances Williams, and the map on the other side, Vinings is the blue that you see. The middle of the map you see is the Chattahoochee River going north to south. This area been in existence for well over 100 years as a community. This does not include the new Brave Stadium, does not include Truist Park, does not include Cumberland Mall, but it is a very tight-knit community. House Bill 840 would simply allow for a public referendum on cityhood. We're talking about, and I want to just frame a reference. We're talking about a number of cities here at the Gold Dome. We're talking about Lost Mountain. We just voted on East Cobb today. We have another big one in the middle of with some more controversy, but this one, and I understand cities can be controversial, what have you. This one really should not have near as much controversy. This is an area of only 7,000 people. The feasibility study done by UGA came back with about 3 million estimated revenues and only 2 million of expenses. Very much pencils. It is supported well in the mid-70s as far as polling. Most of the community think they already live in a city. They just write their checks for taxes to the Cobb County government in Marietta. So with that, what we're looking to do is move forward with House Bill 840, which would allow for a public referendum on cityhood. This would create a city of Vinings, if approved by the referendum, a city of Vinings in that area that you see right there, with three main functions, or only three functions: planning and zoning, parks and rec, and code enforcement. I mentioned the feasibility study. It's in your packet. Thank you to Molly and the committee for passing that out. As you can imagine, with an area this small and it has a vibrant economy and residents, it very easily is fiscally feasible. The city structure would be a city council of 4 individuals. You can see the actually it's in your packets. Yeah, look right. This city council map. 4 council members. Each one has to live in their district, but they're voted at large, and then a mayor voted at large. We have scheduled this in the bill in the substitute for a May 22 election, and then have initial term for mayor for 5 years, and then city council posts 1 and 3 for 5 years, and then city council posts 2 and 4 for 3 years, and then have staggered city council posts thereafter. Obviously nonpartisan for the city council posts, and always in the odd years going forward. That's most of the bill is really kind of boilerplate language from other best practice legislation we've taken from Peachtree Corners, from Tyrone, Mr. Chairman. Happy to answer any questions. That's essentially it, though.
Okay, thank you. And do we have questions on the part of the committee? All right, and let's see here. Yeah, figure out who's at what seat. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Representative Carson. So my main question and concern is the date of the referendum, just because I've spoken to the Cobb Elections Board Chair, and now we're talking about, she has to do reapportionment. She's worried about getting the data for that. Are y'all flexible about changing the date of the referendum if the other entities being considered for city are open to that?
What do you mean the other entities for city?
Well, they're at this point, if East Cobb, the city of East Cobb is, East Cobb is a lot bigger than Vining. So there's a lot more work involved in working out those ballots. But I'm just wondering if y'all are open to moving the referendum. I mean, I'm not saying you have to decide it now, because I've already spoken at length during the East Cobb City discussions about my concerns, and I've discussed them with Janine Eveler, the director of Cobb Board of Elections, and it's mainly just the difficulty of getting all that data and doing all that work by May. I mean, several of the directors of elections in counties around Georgia wrote a letter, which I'm assuming you probably saw earlier. I mean, last year, asking actually that the primary be moved from May to July, so they would have more time to do the maps following reapportionment. I'm just asking if there's flexibility.
As of now, we'd like to move forward on a May primary and continue those conversations. If it's absolutely unachievable, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next is Representative Maynard.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question just for line 44 and 45, where it says may provide for redrawing of any such map by ordinance to reflect lawful changes in the corporate boundaries. So if you wanted to expand in the future, what means will you do that?
Well, that would be subject to general law. And I know there's a city attorney there that's much more versed in this, but basically that would be, as I understand it, subject to effectively the 100% ownership annexation rules within the state statute, if the city wanted to expand.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the part of the committee? Do we have anybody online? Okay.
Mr.
right.
Chairman,
Yes,
if
sir.
I could,
Yes,
if I could, I'd like to introduce a few folks that are here to speak in favor of the bill. I have with me Tom Hamm. Tom is a longtime resident of Vinings, has a marketing background at the C level. He's been at the on the Vinings Exploratory Committee for quite a while, and is here to speak as a resident as well. Also wanted to mention, you know, those two printouts. Yeah, you have a couple of cards here in regard to just some various information about how well this proposed city is feasible from the UGA feasibility study. You have some information in regard to the polling that's in the 70+% range in regard to, and that doesn't include undecideds, in regard to how well this is received by the residents, by the communities, not anybody here at the Capitol or what have you. This is by the residents. This is what they want. They want the ability to vote. I also have with me Taryn Bowman over here on the front row. She's also with the Vinings Exploratory Committee. So we're happy to continue the conversation and answer further questions, Mr. Chairman. We're at your pleasure.
Okay, and we did provide a sign-up sheet down front, and we do have Mr. Hamm listed first on our sign-up sheet. So, Mr. Hamm, you're welcome right there from the seat you're in to use that microphone.
Sure. So yeah, like John was saying, I've lived in Vinings a little over 15 years. And one of the interesting things that occurred when I was first moved into Vinings was that I heard that people had been talking about Cityhood for several years. And so this is an issue that's been really sort of my top of mind for a very long time. And we're just glad to get the opportunity. And we really just want the opportunity for people to be able to vote on it and see whether it's going to work.
Okay,
I'm here for any other questions you may have.
Okay, any questions on the part of the committee? All right, see none. Thank you. And oh, sorry. Okay, we do have one Representative Leverett.
Thank you. The question, and this might be directed toward the sponsor, but it looks like the city is depicted on this printout, and the council districts is a little different. Was there, it looks like maybe you took in a couple of extra parcels along down, kind of in this area down here. And I think there's one little difference up in one other spot. I can't remember. I just saw it and I can't remember where it is, but have the boundaries changed at some point of the proposed area?
Yes, Representative Leverett, if you're looking at these two, I'll hold them up. The council district is correct in the most current map. What is behind you, directly behind you on the easel, is also correct. If I may,
These appear to match.
right?
These appear to match.
Right. If I may, Mr. Chairman, can I explain those differences? And that kind of relates to the differences between
yes, please
House Bill
do.
840 as introduced versus the current version.
Yes.
One of the things, obviously, we went through exhaustive reapportionment exercise, and the old, if I may, Representative Leverett, this map for the proposed city of Vining, excuse me, was drawn based on the 2010 census data tracks, the CDTs. Then we went through the reapportionment exercise, got those numbers for 2020. They were uploaded late last year. And as a result, when we drew the map based on the CDT, the census data tracks, the map lines shifted. You can see a little, if I may, do you see that little parcel right
Yes.
there?
Yes, sir.
And it's also on the map behind you. It's not on this map because of the difference between the 2010 and 2020 census data tracks. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
It looks like there's also a little bit, this curves down in here.
That's
instead of
also
going to the point.
a similar issue.
Okay.
It's my understanding, this little piece right here is purely, this little piece down here is purely industrial. The area that you mentioned might have one or two businesses, but it's mostly just empty parcels. But it might have a business or two, but I highly doubt it affects the residents.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, we didn't have any intentional differences between the maps. It is basically the cause of the loading of the 2020 census information.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, in regard to House Bill 840, that was really, that is from House Bill 840 as introduced late last year versus what you have before you as a sub. The one is those slight tweaks on the map due to the changes in the census. Second, we moved for the council elections to be elected by a majority, not just a plurality. And third, to the point made earlier, we're looking to have a May primary, if at all possible.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Mr. Hamm or Chairman Carson? Okay, thank you. And now Taryn Bowman. Yeah, if you'd like to step up to the.
Hi, committee. I'm not sure if I have much more to add because I think everything's really been covered, but I just wanted to say I am very excited to be here today on behalf of House Bill H40, which would give Vinings residents the opportunity to vote on cityhood. I had my first child in Vinings 18 years ago yesterday. And I just want to also give a shout out to Chairwoman Taylor for her birthday week, which is this week on Wednesday. So happy birthday. Today? Oh, this on Wednesday, right? Oh, the 7th. Okay. Okay. But I am here today to speak on behalf of the bill. And as a Vinings resident, I've spoken to so many people in the community at this point, and there's a sense of excitement around this. There's a sense of community that this bill would foster. And as Rep. Carson said, this is a tight-knit community. Many people actually, I've knocked on a lot of doors in the community and spoken to people who actually do think we're already a city. So I think this would solidify that. And you might ask why? Why a city of Vinings? The main reasons, as stated in our charter, are for local control, which means that we would take on zoning, planning, parks and rec, and code enforcement to really bring the government close to the people, to bring representation close to our community so that we could be involved in the community in that. We want to control our own destiny. We want to preserve our unique historical character, which is so intricate to Vinings and so important in our area. And we want to preserve our suburban lifestyle. Is the city of Vinings feasible? Is the other question. And the Carl Vincent Institute at the University of Georgia, a wonderful institution, a highly reputable institution, did our study, and they took months to do our study. We got it back in October, and it was overwhelmingly feasible. We have $3.something million in revenue, and we would end up having $1 million+ in surplus. So we were very pleased with that. And so I guess the last question really, I mean, the bottom line of this whole thing is, are you in favor of Vinings residents having the right to vote on whether they want a city or not? And I guess I hope your answer is yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And does anyone have any questions for Ms. Bowman? Nope. Seeing none, you can go ahead. Thank you. All right. Chairman Carson, is anything in closing?
I'm happy to go over the numbers and the feasibility study. I'm happy to talk about the differences as introduced versus now. This community thought they were a city, quite honestly. When they're going out and advocating for it, they're honestly thinking, well, I thought we already were. They're just asking for the ability to have government closer to the people, a representation closer to the people. They're asking for the right to vote, and I just appreciate the committee's indulgence there.
Okay, thank you, sir. And does anyone on the committee have any requests for any additional information? Okay, hold on one second. Representative Leverett.
You may have addressed this, Chairman. I apologize, but about how large in terms of population would the city be?
Right. Thank you for that. This is I believe it's going to be the smallest city that the Gold Dome is going to consider this year, just over 7,000 residents. And as out
in Elberton, we call that a metropolis. That's big time.
in Cobb County, we call it a concert. Or it could be Truist Park left field. There was one question, in all seriousness, Representative Lever, I love your area. You got to understand. There was one question in regard to why are and Chairman Fleming might be able to answer this, more of this. Why are the council members as proposed? Would that be, they have to live in their district, but they're voted city at large? And the reason being is if you have 7,000 residents, you're going to have 4,000 registered voters. And if you have 4,000 registered voters times what average turnout 40%, and then you divide that by 4, you're not talking about a very large voting block. So we wanted to have accountable government, but also government closer to the residents.
Thank you. And we have Representative Rick Williams.
Just want at the proper time, make a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair. Okay, this will be the proper time.
Make a motion to pass.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of do pass on House Bill 840 to proceed to full committees, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, and at this time, we will ask Representative Earhart to come to the table and I'll point out, I should have pointed this out at the beginning. I guess everybody's kind of figured it out by now. We have 2 sets of maps on both sides. The map closest to everyone out there is for the proposed city of Vinings. The map on the back side is we have one that's the boundary for the proposed city of Lost Mountain, and this over here actually has it broken down into districts. Chairman Carson?
Just as an administrative point, do you mind if we're going to head out? At least I am. I've got a few things to do. Should we just take the maps and the easels with us? Would that be best? Okay.
Molly
Yeah.
says yes.
Appreciate it.
So-
I should ask Molly. She's
Yes, sir. Thank you. That will actually simplify what I was just talking about. Representative Earhart, you may begin when you're
Great.
ready.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to start off by thanking the committee so much for the opportunity to come and present to you today, House Bill 826. I sense it's beginning to feel a little bit like Groundhog Day around here. You just keep hearing the same sorts of bills over and over again. So just to kind of set this apart a little bit and just I'd like to take just a moment and give you a little picture of West Cobb. I have been a Cobb County girl, a Cobb County resident for nearly 50 years. I'm not going to disclose my age, but we moved here in 1977. My father was an Army officer. We moved to Cobb County. The entire time that I have lived in Cobb County, I have lived in various places, but always in the unincorporated portions of the county. Like I said, I am a proud Cobb County girl. I love my county. And I think that what we have in front of us here, particularly as relates to the area that we are now affectionately calling the future city of Lost Mountain, is an attempt here to bring government closer to the residents of that part of the county. And I think Ms. Bowman said it perfectly earlier when she said bringing it back to the people. So I present to you HB 826. The new city of Lost Mountain would be the 12th largest city in the state of Georgia, larger than Marietta, Roswell, Albany. It would encompass about 75,000 residents. The governing body would be a city council, 6 members. I know that you've heard a lot of this before. It would very similar to some of the other cities that you've heard about. There would be 3 districts, so 6 total council members across 3 districts. So 2 from each district. Each of the 2 members from each district required to live within the boundaries of those districts. All 6 would be elected at large by the city. They would be serving 4-year terms, 4-year staggered terms, meaning that half of the city council members, when they first come in, would serve essentially 2-year terms and half would serve 4. How this does differ a little bit from other cities is that we are approaching and what we feel is appropriate for our part of the county is really a city light model. that involves a mayor that is appointed amongst the 6 members of the council. Some people refer to this as a weak mayor model. I don't disagree with that because of the nature of Western Cobb County and the city light model. Really, the consensus among folks that support the city in West Cobb is that this is a very appropriate model for this type of city. We feel for one reason it works to sort of prevent any extreme concentration of power with one individual, and also encourages a spirit of cooperation between the mayor, as he would be also a member of the council. It's a popular concept in West Cobb. One of the things I'm particularly proud about with this city is that we have done what we can and what is permitted in code to sort of inhibit an unchecked growth. I've often heard folks say that every time we create a city in Georgia, it tends to grow out of control. What can we do? And having spoken with legislative counsel, there's nothing you can necessarily do to keep a city from growing. Certainly can't keep a city from adding services, but you certainly can put in a series of guardrails that just sort of makes it a little bit more intentional, perhaps a little bit more difficult to grow. One of those would be the fact that a supermajority would be required for passage of all ordinances. 4 out of the 6 members would have to vote in favor of any ordinance for passage. Also, that we are things like requiring a referendum to enter into a general bond, things of that nature. One thing I will say that is common, a sort of common thought process for a lot of independent thinkers in Western Cobb County, and I will tell you that for a lot of them, they are looking for a city model that they believe is close to home and also allows them to have adequate representation. That's one of the reasons that we're so excited about it. I would tell you that we have no opposition. I don't know that you would believe me if I said that. But what I can tell you is that in the 1 year that I have been working on this, and certainly working in conjunction with other community leaders in West Cobb, we have not had a single group of people, really not even any individuals, voice their concerns or be opposed to the city. We have been doing town hall meetings across the proposed city. We've done HOA. We've been to speak to HOA groups. We're all over the internet. What we have had is people that perhaps don't understand the concept of cityhood and why it might be necessary. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to talk to folks about how this brings representation down to their level. One thing that has resonated particularly with folks in West Cobb is that through the incorporation of a city, an individual resident in West Cobb will go from having 1 commissioner represent 200,000 of their neighbors to 1 council member representing 12,000. And that resonates. That resonates with people who perhaps feel that, Cobb County now is very different than it was 50 years ago. I remember Cobb County 50 years ago. So one of the things that we find is particularly resonating with individuals is the fact that they are not going to be one person in a line of 200,000 people trying to get a response, let's say from a commissioner. And that they will be decisions that are made about development in West Cobb will be made by people who actually live there. Currently, only 1 out of 5 members of a commission actually live in West Cobb. Also, a little bit about the services as relates to the city light model, planning and zoning. And that is I would say that is our number 1 issue, and probably the reason that this effort even got off the ground. Cobb County is changing, it's growing, and that's good. There is something for everyone in Cobb County. I've often heard it referred to as diversity of development. And what that means is there's really something for everybody in Cobb County, for those that are seeking higher density housing, for those that want less density housing. West Cobb provides a place where a young family can still find a 2-acre lot for a relatively reasonable price, not as much anymore. There are still horse farms in West Cobb. We bring to the table that part of the county a wonderful diversity of development that is valued greatly by the folks who live in that part of the county. Code enforcement would be our second city service, sanitation, and parks and recreation. We have a lot of sports parents out there, a lot of tennis moms, baseball families that are very excited about the prospect of having some of those parks and rec decisions come closer to home for them. We think that we knew that in concept it sounded good. Of course, what a lot of folks out our way were waiting for was the results of the feasibility study. We commissioned with the Carl Vincent Institute. You've heard folks sing their praises. And I think they did a phenomenal job. It was an intensive process. I was amazed at what goes into the consideration of the feasibility study. No stone was left unturned. We had the sense, certainly from the fact that we are not necessarily providing some of the more expensive services. We're not doing fire, not doing police. We had a sense that the feasibility study would be favorable, and indeed it was. I believe you all have a copy of it, probably. The end result was essentially that the city of Lost Mountain would have a $3.5 million annual surplus. And so we were certainly very, very pleased, very encouraged at that. Essentially, it is a relatively simple bill. I know everyone says that about their bills, but this one is even simpler, I think, than two of the others that you've heard before. Again, I'm unaware of any real opposition. Mostly in what people have done, as I said, they had questions. They were curious about it. So I've had the benefit of the past year to be sort of on the road, on and about West Cobb, visiting with folks and talking about the concept of cityhood. One thing I have come to understand is that I am grateful, very grateful, that there is an organizational option, a tool available to Georgians to address issues of local control, perhaps when they feel that they are lost amongst a large county of millions of people, that we have a tool available in code, an opportunity here to bring that representation right back down to them at the local level. And you really can't put a price on that. Mr. Chairman, I am available to answer any questions. Be happy to.
Okay, thank you, Representative Earhart. Before we open the floor up for questions, I just did want to make mainly for our audience, and I know you may not have attended our other two meetings, but when Representative Earhart referred to the city light model, that is a concept. There is no city light in state
right.
code, that sort of thing. So just so that that doesn't create some confusion that, hey, the committee has created something that we've gone out of our way to make sure is not is understood that it doesn't exist. I want to make sure that goes.
Right.
Representative Maynard, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. What are the initial costs? I couldn't really find it in this study. What are going to be the initial costs that Cobb County will bear?
There are startup costs in this, and that is all factored into the feasibility study. I could go line by line. Let me see if I can pull up here.
Just the total.
Right. I know that the annual operating costs, and I believe sorry, Stuart, do you have? I can tell you, and I'm not sure that I can put my finger on the exact amount of the startup costs. I do know that the annual expenses are projected at 8.5 million the first year, which would include, my understanding is that would include the startup costs as well. Total revenue is 12.5 million.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Now, we had a sign-up sheet down before, and the only two people we had sign up were in reference to the city of Vinings. We did pull that list. However, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak, if you can just raise your hand, or yes, sir, if you'll come to the podium up here and please introduce yourself, let us know your name, affiliation, and where you reside, please.
Thank you to the committee, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Scott Johnson. I am a resident of what we hope to be the future city of Lost Mountain in West Cobb County. I know many of you from one role or another, whether that's political or my 10 years of service in this very area on the State Board of Education. I would tell you that many people may think that Vinings is a city. Nobody thinks Lost Mountain is a city because it's a concept that's brand new. We have hatched it over the last few years. the idea that in a county of 700 or 750,000 people, roughly, you have it's very diverse. And I've lived in the same location in West Cobb for nearly, this is my 30th year from 1992. And we have, the county is distinctive, or our portion of West Cobb County is distinctive. It was very practically rural when I moved there, and maybe not by some rural Georgia standards, but much farmland and that sort of thing when I moved there 30 years ago. And yet it has changed, but many of those changes are good. And this is not in my backyard kind of effort, because as I like to say, I want to be able to go to the racetrack and buy my gas locally. I just don't want to see it from my back deck. And I understand that, and you understand that. I've served on city planning commissions in the past, not in Cobb. And there's appropriate place for development, and there's appropriate place for possibly anything, but our citizens want to be able to have a say. They want local control, but I like to say it more of a determination of our own destiny for our part of Cobb County. And as Representative Earhart said, there's no organized opposition. There are some folks that we've had to explain to, but I'll tell you what I have had. We've had folks that say, why can't you draw me into the boundaries? We want to be in the city of Lost Mountain. And we said, well, you know what? We have to draw those lines somewhere, and we'd love to include more people. So we have the opposite issue. We have people wanting to be a part of what they think is going to be a great government in local control. I will say this, we started out, as Representative Earhart said, we started out with obviously planning and zoning, code enforcement, sanitation, and my involvement with other cities that have been created in the last 10 years or so, or just going to them, talking to their leadership, talking to their mayors and council, and finding out what their experiences were. That they said you should include parks and recreation. It helps identify you as a city. It helps, your people are going to love it, and they're going to like it. They'll love the city when they pull into the park, and it says City of Lost Park for the City of Lost Mountain. So that's a good identifier. It's a good service, and we added that from our original plan. We're listening to the citizens by doing so. So I would encourage you to look at, as Representative Earhart said, a great feasibility study, one with a great surplus of nearly $3.5 million, and ask any questions that you have of those of us who represent the City of Lost Mountain, the future of the City of Lost Mountain.
Okay, do we have any
Thank you.
questions? Any questions for Mr. Johnson? All right, seeing none, thank you. Representative Earhart, you any statements in closing?
No, I think everybody's all questioned out, right? But just again, thank you for the time, the opportunity to come here and present. I certainly request or hope for your favorable consideration. We're excited. I had a resident recently say to me, I feel like I'm at the cusp of something new and wonderful, creating my own hometown. And that is really what it's all about. It's giving folks out that way a sense that they now belong to something a little smaller than something that was quite so enormous, but certainly their own hometown. So thank you again.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion at this time. We have a motion due pass. Do we have a second? Okay, second. Any other discussion on the part of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion, we have one opposition. Okay. All right, motion carries. And that is the last item on our agenda. The meeting is adjourned.